Ayan na, ayan na, ayan na. Medyo nakatulog tayo ng konti. Pero kita niyo naman, parang 6, 7 a.m. pa lang, may mga messages tayo dyan. Good morning. So, eto na naman, morning mode tayo. Update tayo from MOCHA to Tony G, Andrew E, Robin P, Junior, Talks, and then kanina, of course, medyo update naman kami. Quite a similar level. French presidential debate. So, of course, tinitignan natin yung debate sa pagitan ni Emmanuel Macron and Marine Le Pen. No? At yan po ang level of discussion natin ngayon. From MOCHA to Macron. Diba? From... Okay. Good morning. Okay. Kamusta dyan, mga kameta? Ayan, parang neutral naman. Mga kameta, kamusta kayo dyan? Mga ka-isko. Nagtitrending na si Isko, Thursday na. Anong petsa na? Tapos na ang week, mag-1 week na. Si Isko pa rin ang inaano. Naku po. Mga kakamping, kamusta kayo dyan? Mga ka-Pacman, ka-Antman, ka-GMRC na nasa Mindoro, happy times. Kamusta naman kayo dyan? I hope happy kayo dyan. Shout out naman dyan sa ating mga kaibigan, sa yung mga kasama natin dyan sa Brazilian Embassy. Salamat Thank you mga kameta pala yung mga dyan, yung mga nanonood sa atin, mga kameta. Neutral sila, wala silang political, nanonood lang naman sila sa atin. It doesn't say anything, so I'm respecting the sanctity of diplomatic neutrality. At of course, hindi ko pag-usapan yung mga pinag-usapan namin. Alright, so shout out naman kayo dyan. Salamat. At pagbaba ko, nakita ko nung sila kuya. Uy, gusto kayo dyan. Ayan, gumagana sa ayan mga kameta pala itong mga to. Kameta, meron na tayong branding. Alam mo, magka-copyright na akong t-shirt. Ayan na. Yan ang gagawin natin. Copyright t-shirt. Gagawin ko siyang ano na natin yan. Copyright na natin yan. Ayan na. So yan, kamusta? Good morning. May mga kasama tayo dyan na sumasama po sa atin from the Middle East. Good nang silang. Maaga ngayon na. Anong oras ba dyan? 6 a.m.? Uy, aga. Talagang maaga gumising. Good morning. Guten Morgen. Yan. Mga bonjour. Kumusta ba sa mga kaibigan natin dyan sa France? Kamusta naman ang mga debate nyo? Ibang klase yung debate. Ibang klase yung debate sa France. My goodness. Si Le Pen. Le Pen makes Trump look mild. I mean, ibang klase yung mga pinagsasabi ni ate. Yung pati France. Wala na rin yung France. Wala na. Talagang na to spaghetti pababa ng ating politika. Just when you thought, di ba? Alam mo, Pilipinas lang yung problematic. Naku po. Of course, France is supposed to be a cradle of Republican governance, of revolution, of enlightenment. Tapos kamusta naman si ate? Si Le Pen, isang proposal niya is to ban hijab in the public space. Kamusta naman dyan? Paano naman naging secular yan? Alam mo, lahat naman tao may concern sa any form of religious extremism. Any form. Pero to ban expression of basic religious principles of any religion for that matter, ibang klase po yan. Ano yan? Communist China style? Xinjiang? Yan bang gusto ni ate? Ibang klase. Tapos yung mga pinagsasabi niya, puro mali-mali. Yung mga sinabi, I think she was referring to Turkey. Hindi naman nag-ban ng Turkey sa ibang klase. Bakit ganon? Siyempre sabi ko, manood tayo ng French presidential elections para medyo high level. Medyo mature democracy, high level. Ayan, pagtingin ko yung mga debate, ibang klase. Tapos ito naman si Macron. Kuya, galingan mo naman magdebate. Yung level naman dyan. Galingan mo naman. Ano ba yan? Ano ba yan? Ano ba yan? So yun, base sa mga surveys, mukhang 45-55. Medyo close yung fight, ah. May chance pa to si... mga ano dyan, mga kameta. O yan, balikan natin ng Pilipinas. Balikan natin ng Pilipinas. Balikan natin ng Pilipinas. Sabi ko nga, alam mo minsan, itong concern ko, sabi ko, magmemeta tayo mamaya. Pero, ano naman ang pag-usapan namin na hindi ka ma-depress? Kasi, pag politika natin, nakaka-depress talaga minsan panoorin kasi yung mga nagte-trending dyan, naku po, yung mga puro na lang palamura, bastusan. That passes as political stuff. I mean, my goodness. My goodness. Ano to, Dark Ages? Ito bang level natin ngayon, Dark Ages? Kaya sabi ko, ano naman ang gagawin natin dyan sa mga kameta natin na hindi naman sila ma-depress? Kamusta mga dyan? Medyo happy tayo. So, kailangan natin ng let's take inspiration. Sabi ko, kaya nga, mara tayo ng French presidential elections. Je ne sais quoi. Ganun. Yeah, très bien. Tapos, paano ko... Ito naman yung mga perfect attendance. Ito na naman yung mga Oxford man. Ayan na. Kaya talagang maawa kayo sa akin kasi naghahanap ka ng inspirasyon, lalong na bad trip ka lang. Parang, ano ba yan? Bati France, ganyan na yung level. Anyamet. Okay. Balikan naman natin ng Pilipinas. Mataas ang levels natin dyan. Okay. Ayan, kamusta? Kahapon naman, bago tayo medyo mag-break from Twitter. Medyo ano tawag dyan? Dopamine break. Yan. Dopamine break. Kasi nakaka-dopamine tong Twitter and yung, si nag-message sa akin, si awayin ko yan, ganyan, no? Tapos kanina naman, biglang tinag tayo dyan na one of the most, sabi niya? One of the world's most engaging journalists, pundits, and satirists on Twitter from April 13 to 19th, base sa algorithm. Mga kameta, kasama po ako dyan dito sa the world's most engaging. Ayan, sa Twitter. Di nila tinignan yung mga meta natin. Mas engaging pa tayo sa meta. Ayan, kasama po natin mga journalists from Washington Post. Kasama po natin dyan yung mga innovators from around the world. Ganun lang naman ang level natin Okay. Ngayon, balikan natin. Anong ulit sinabi ni MOCHA? Oo, kasi may sinabi si Tony Talks. Siyempre level Journalism, very high level. Very, very high level. Ito pong sinabi, no? Balikan ba natin? Ito pong, Tony Talks Wisdom. Ayan, sabi niya, konting-konting panahon na lamang at magbabalik na si BBM sa kanyang tahanan, ang Malacanang. Ay, ibang klase. Tahanan. Talagang, wow. Royalty. Royalty pala. Ay, iba. Monarchy pala tayo eh. Ba't di kayo nagsasabi? Ibang klase. Buckingham Palace pala ang Malacanang. Kasi doon si tatay ngayon, medyo hindi ko maano. Pero anyway, ayan na daw, babalik daw mga royalties doon sa kanilang tahanan. Wow, talaga. I love this level of journalism. Talagang very high level. So, eto, guess who to the rescue? Paklase. To the rescue po. To the rescue, not of Tony Talks, but to the rescue of Malacanang. I see. Guess nyo na yan. Yan, ang leader ng MOCHA Girls. Yan, si Assistant Secretary MOCHA Uson. Ayan na, baka mabanat tayo dyan mamaya. O, mabait ako. Nasaan na to? I-pull out natin ang statement ni ex-assistant secretary. Ang tawag sa ano niya, MOCHA, yung Facebook niya, blog ang tawag. Paano naging blog yung Facebook page? Hindi ko talaga gets yon. Paano naging blog? Ang blog po ay, alam niyo naman yung blog, di ba? Hindi po blog ang Facebook page. Yan ang talaga, doon pa lang parang, balikan ko na si Macron at French elections. Pero, hi. Ito naman yung Ferrari natin Ready na tayo. But ito. Balikan natin si Mocha. So, sabi ni Tony Talks, tahanan daw ang Malacanang. Nang hindi taong bayan ng royalty ng Pilipinas. The Philippines Bourbons. Ayan, babalik ng mga Bourbon. So, let's go a little bit French style. Ayan na si Mocha. Diba? Talagang meron ganon si Madam. Talaga yung, pwede pala mag-ganon. Ganon. Wala sira. Wala akong pambili ng bago. Or, meron naman siguro, pero kinukuripot. Scotch tape po nilagay natin. Kamusta po kayo dyan? Hello. Ayan, kausapin ko si Mocha. Ayan. Kamusta po kayo dyan? Opo. Tahanan daw. Uwi daw sa tahanan. Uwi na daw. Oo. Ayan, ito. Nakakonect pala sa speaker ko dyan si Mocha. Ito. Alam mo, ma'am, sabi niya, i-pull out natin yung quote ni ex-assistant secretary. Mocha Uson. Di ba, pinaremind ni Mocha Uson, ang Malacanang po ay tahanan ng sambayanan Pilipino. No? This is the people's house. Diba? Kumbaga medyo, Abraham Lincoln style. Right? If you're familiar with Abraham Lincoln, at napanood yung movie na Lincoln, diba? Makikita niyo, any ordinary American could step in, have a conversation with the president. Of course, hindi pa nagsimula yung mga assassinations and all of that siguro or something. But, that's the idea. Si Tatay Digong rin, nagsabi niya, at nakita ko si Tatay Digong nung time sa Malacanang. Parang sabi niya, hindi siya at home sa Malacanang kasi minumulto siya ng mga ibang presidente kasi pasaway daw siya. Kasi, sige, hindi ko na patulan yung sinabi ni Tatay. Ang sasabihin ko lang, tahanan kasi yan ng Marcos S. Kaya, sure ako si Madam Imelda ay ready na ayusin yung mga dekorasyon, diba? Imeldific. So in fairness naman kay Mocha Uson blog ay TikTok pala to TikTok na hindi naman ito tahanan ng isang pamilya lamang, isang tao, at in fairness she cited the impeccable, the unprecedented, the inimitable, the super duper meta, populism, competence of President Duterte as bilang isang ehemplo, no? Yeah, I wanted to say actually superlatives. Isang ehemplo ng really a people-centered style of governance. Ay, gusto ko, proud na proud talaga si Mocha. Tingnan mo nga si Tatay, ganyan. Yan. Hindi ko nga alam. Andiyan ba si Tatay o nakauwi na naman sa Davao? Kasi parang medyo, isa pa yan Yung mga perfect attendance club. Kamusta kayo dyan? Mga perfect attendance. Ayan tayo Tapos, biglang, syempre update tayo. French presidential elections, Brazil, gano'n. Tapos biglang, may si Andrew E. Grabe, yung talagang, tignan nyo naman si Andrew E. Parang presidential ball. Kaya nga tanong ko nga kanina, bakit hindi tumakbong senador to? Para naman kasama sila ni, si Robin P. Diba? Anyway, diba? Parang, tag team yating dalawa na yan Bakit hindi lang sama? I mean, ano bang standards natin sa Senate? Meron ba? Diba? Hindi ko alam May standards ba tayo? May standards na ba? Kasi mukhang Ayoko na magsalita. Ito na lang pakita ko sa inyo. Ito. Nasaan na? Ayan. Ayan. Kasi yun nga eh, kasama naman sila eh, diba? And si Robin P. and si Andrew E. So bakit hindi naman kayo nagsama dun sa Senate slate? I'm sure you guys really can contribute to uplifting the level of policy discourse and legislative excellence embodied by the highest august body, legislative body chamber in the Republic of the Philippines, diba? Ganun, ang standards po natin ay masyadong mataas. Masyadong mataas. Kaya medyo nahihirapan sila Chel Joke na eh, diba? Ano lang naman ang credentials ni Chel Joke na? Ano lang naman, diba? Ano lang naman, diba? Medyo mataas. Kaya sabi ko, isama nyo na. Andyan naman si si Jinggoy, andyan na sa loob ni si Bongji, si Bato. I mean, tapos magkaroon ng mag-ama, mag-ina, I mean, magkapatid. Ay, talagang masaya to. Masaya to. Very, 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 very level. Ito po ang talagang nangyari sa ating bansa. Matutuwa talaga tayo dito. So, ito ulitin natin ha. Ito. So, ang tanong ko lang dito bakit tumakbo ito? Hindi tumakbo to. Anyways, yung standards nila mataas pareho di ba? At least this is what survey says na itong hanap talaga ng tao. Ito po yung standards natin for what embodies the qualities of a member of the highest legislative chamber in the Republic of the Philippines. Ganun po ang level natin dyan. Kaya nga nahihirapan sila, Chel, joke, no? Essentially, the best lawyers and minds in the country, medyo nahihirapan na sila. Kasi medyo yung standards, medyo, Kaya yan. Standards. Tapos, eto pa, di ba? Yung Senate natin, ilipat dyan sa BGC. Wow, social. Very high level. Watch my vlogs, guys. Ganun yan. Sarap mag-vlog doon, no? Ay, imagine, may Tulfo dyan, may Robin P, may Bato, tas ganda ng BGC, mag-vlog ka, kalye survey ka dyan sa BGC, yung mga Englishero, nag-jug dyan with Nike and Yeezy. Nice. Parang yan na talagang magiging future ng ating political analysis. Yan. Talagang maganda yan, guys. I'm very excited to analyze yung magiging debates, policy discussions dyan sa ating incoming Senate, incoming Congress. Levels. Medyo I think I will need some yoga retreat. After these elections, medyo kailangan natin ng transcendental wisdom. Yun lang masasabi ko dyan. We need transcendental wisdom to make sense out of this, right? So maraming salamat sa ating mga kameta na ito na wala na awanan nagawit tayo awanan. May nasabi kanina, in fairness may analysis, so na hindi si Andrew E. daw, maghihintay siya sa midterms naman ng Team Unit Team. Unit Team. So yun, so parang naman hindi naman sabay-sabay. So si Senator Robin Padilla mauna, then of course Senator Padilla will endorse Andrew E. And I'm sure they're gonna form a very solid, well-researched bloc pushing for federalism in the Philippines, yung PHEDRalism. Yan. Para syempre kung federal tayo, sabi nga ng iba, ilang beses kaya kumain sa isang araw? Isang beses po. Naku po, pag federal tayo, 5 beses kayo kakain sa isang araw. Tapos palakpakan. Ito po, galing-galing. Talaga yan ang level of analysis ngayon. Pag federalism po, ano po yung kotse nyo ngayon? Ganyan na. Huwag kang mag-alala, Fortuner po ang bibigay na, maging Fortuner po ang kotse nyo pag naging federalism. Palakpakan yung mga talagang. Yan po ang level of analysis. Federal. Mag-up tayo doon sa map. Ano yung mga magagandang bansa na federal? Di ba yung Germany medyo federal? Yan. Pag federal tayo, maging Germany na tayo. Ganun. Tapos, wait lang, hindi pa parang federal yung Iraq, yung Nigeria, Brazil. Hindi na wag natin pag-usapan yan. Pag-usapan lang natin yung mga sosyal na mayayaman na federal. Oh, America, federal yan. Pero medyo magulang US, wag natin mention masyado. Doon na tayo sa Germany, Switzerland, yung mga ganyan na mention natin. Yan, ganun po ang level. Ganun po. Kaya hindi na kailangan ng political scientist, political analyst. Ba't pa kayo magbasa? Bakit pa kayo mag-analyze? Andyan naman yung mga vloggers. If-fit sa inyo ang pinakamagandang junk food. Yan talaga junk food talaga eh. Junk food vlogging. Ang tawag ko talaga dyan. Okay. Ayan na. Tama na. O, ito. Magbe-behave na ako. I think kailangan talaga ng breathing exercise. Okay. Okay. Happy tayo. Okay. Now, kagabi, alam nyo, 5 a.m. pa lang gising na kahapon. Hindi ko alam dun sa mga ibang flunkies and bombers and all of that. But, you know, sometimes we work 18 hours a day. So, yesterday was one of those days. Hanggang gabi, nanood pa rin ako. Nag-follow up ako kasi nakita ko yung mga live feed dun sa unit team. Sa Lipa to, no? Sa Lipa. Lipa to, di ba? Lipa, di ba? Sorry. And, of course, I got to watch the speech of Senator Ferdinand Marcos Jr. Oh, yeah, serious tayo. No, seriously. I mean, we have to be serious. We have to really watch this. I mean, at the end of the day, he's a top contender. You can debate surveys and, I don't know, go Google Trend, whatever you want. But he's a top contender to be the next president of the Philippines. So we have to watch the guy seriously. Well, that's my job at least. Bahala kayo dyan. Anong gusto nyo panoorin? And one thing I can say is, first of all, Senator Marcos is... he's very well versed in this kind of traditional old school style of the talagang parang balagtasan speech. And, you know, for some people it might not be their cup of tea, but it has its impact. It has a certain kind of gravitas. And I also noticed that, in fairness guys, Senator Marcos, he's very self-assured. You could see he really feels the moment. He feels the support. He feels the momentum. And increasingly you can see he's embracing this sense of destiny and all. Oh, wag kayong magalit sa akin. I'm doing my job here, okay? Oh, wag tayo partisan dito, Okay. And you know, you can see this transformation into an increasingly more self-assured and confident political figure. His speech was relatively long. I would say almost flawless, in fairness. Diretsong Tagalog, linis yung delivery. Yung mga nag-alamano dyan, in fairness, diba? And it was really, I mean, just the whole thing was screaming nostalgia. I mean, it's just nostalgia. The music, yung bagong lipunan later on na play, yung style, the way Senator Marcos stands and presents himself, the connection he establishes to the audience. And then yung constantly yung emphasis about we can be great again. Na pwede tayong maging proud ulit bilang isang Pilipino. Yung idea na there was really a golden past that we can return to. I mean, this is almost mythical, mythos kind of political performance, I could say. And I'm completely saying this in a non-judgmental way. I mean, you see, there's mythos and there's logos. Logos is the emphasis on evidence, data, merit. Mythos is this meta-narratives. Meta-narratives that really connects with people on the emotional level, right? And if you're a politician, you have to connect to people on the emotional level. Hindi lang pwede na wonky ka lang or policy-oriented and all, you know? You cannot just be that. You have to also connect with people on the level of emotions. So mythos is important in any speech, in any political performance, in any stunt, in any campaign. And if you watch Senator Marcos, just the degree of nostalgia he projects in the way he handles himself, in the way he presents the speech, the smooth transition he has from point A to B, this promise that we can be great again, this idea that there was a time when all Filipinos, life was good, people could eat 3 times a day, hindi sila nag-aalala sa pagkain, sa trabaho, etc. At pwede tayong muling bumalik sa panahon na yan. Again, of course, let's not go to the fact-checking yet, right? Right? I'm just talking about the performance here and the emotional impact it has. smooth operation. I mean, you can see talagang parang he's saying it with almost full conviction, right? Obviously, I know nag-eye roll yung iba, parang excuse me, wag natin makalimutan yung the whole OFW phenomenon actually really picked up and really started wholesale, hindi recently but nung pananin. But the point is this, parang the idea is if kami ang masama, bakit over the past 3 decades hindi nagkaroon ng significant improvement in the living standards of vast majority of Filipinos? Now, we can make all sorts of argument. Hindi naman kasalanan ni Aquino yan. May Arroyo ka naman. Hindi naman kasalanan yan. I know. I make those arguments myself. But on the emotional and immediate level, it has resonance. It has resonance. I mean, Filipinos are suffering. We have been suffering decade after decade and after decade. Vast majority of Filipinos have not benefited from the high growth rates we have been enjoying for a decade or so at least. Yes, our journalists, some of them have been having a better time. They've had the freedom, etc. Yes, we have certain academic freedoms that is not enjoyed in other places, etc. But if you look at the same time, the conditions of ordinary folks, you look at the conditions of non-high profile journalists, if you look at the condition of vast majority of Filipinos, it has not really significantly improved in the past decades or so. Again, we can say, si Tatay Digong, di ba, sabi niya 6 months, ganun, di ba, dapat maging Singapore. Yeah, okay, we can go there. But you see, this is not how voters necessarily connect to a political figure. They don't go there with that kind of an accounting, and then minus plus here. They don't do, people are not like that. People go there and they watch a political figure and they're there to feel reassured, to feel that indeed tomorrow can be better than today. And in the case of Bongbong Marcos, because it's screaming nostalgia, the fundamental thrust of his claim and argument is that pag akong binoto nyo, babalik tayo dun sa golden era. So effectively, it's a revisionist statement, yes. But it's a revisionist statement that is making an impact. And let me make myself a little bit more controversial here. Let me say something. So recently, if you notice on Twitter, I took exception to a report by New York Times. They're good friends of ours. I mean, they interview me. I've written for them, etc., op-eds, etc. And then na-quote si Maria Ressa, a good friend of ours, who quoted essentially Milan Kundera, and the idea was that ang issue parang the basic message is this. Ang issue dito is memory. Like people are forgetting what happened back in the day. That this is really an issue about. Essentially, you can see what's the implication of that kind of quotation. Of course, Milan Kundera from Czech, right? He had a very different context in mind. He was talking about Soviet occupation, Central Asia. If binasa niyo yung Unbearable Lightness of Being, you'll see what Milan Kundera was referring to. In fact, I used that quote 6 years ago in one of my articles for Al Jazeera, for instance. But my point is, that is a liberal cliche argument. That's a liberal cliche argument that barely scratches the surface. Because maraming Pilipino dyan na of course alam nila yung nangyari sa panahon ni Marcos. Alam nila yan. I mean, syempre hindi masyadong i-broadcast, but people know what happened during that time. Yes, we can have some debate about some younger folks maybe not as, but marami alam natin na nangyari. But, it's not really memory per se. The issue here is skepticism or cynicism with what came after the Marcos dictatorship. What was promised in 1986, what was embodied by the EDSA revolution, and what string of disappointments came year after year after year after year after decade after decade. It is also what nostalgia is. You may have a memory of the past. Like for instance, may jowa ka. May memory ka ng jowa. Alam mo naman talaga may loko-loko yung jowa mo eh. Pero minsan, biglang nami-miss mo yung ex mo, di ba? And this has nothing to do. So I'm already doing neuroscience, cognitive science here. This has nothing to do with memory. Alam mo naman, loko-loko talaga itong... Alam mo yung ginawa niya sa... But nostalgia is an emotional thing. And let's say, may jowa ka ngayon, tapos boring siya, Tapos parang, hindi ka masaya, biglang, tapos biglang andyan yung mga memories mo, yung ex-jowa mo, yung medyo Cariño brutal, pero pag sweet talaga. So biglang, because of your frustration with what's happening now, kasi boring yung jowa mo yan, biglang yung ex mo comes in your mind in a different light. No? Parang, oo nga, nung panahon na yan, at least kami, kahit walang pera, nandyan kami sa luneta, ganon. Ngayon, may pera naman kami, nag-rockwell kami, ganon, pero hindi naman siya sweet sa akin, ganon. You know what I'm saying here? That is what nostalgia does. Your frustration with the presence distorts your retention, your association, your relationship to your past. And suddenly gives you a rose-tinted idea and a selective appreciation of what happened in the past in a way that helps you to compensate emotionally for your frustration about the present and by extension give you a hope about a better future. Do you see what's going on here? This is what you call nostalgia. Now, why is this relevant in the context of our discussion? Because what we're witnessing in this country is not necessarily a lack of memory. That's a liberal cliche. That's almost like saying, oh, people are not educated enough. We have a problem, yes, but to reduce it to that is the issue is authoritarian nostalgia. People are so disappointed with the inefficiencies, broken promises, boringness, whatever you want to call it, joke timeness, clown politics, and all of that, that suddenly they're developing this different emotional, psychological relationship. Uy, wala yung ballpen ko. Ito. Parang kasi kung may ballpen ako, medyo mas maganda emphasis. Wala akong notes, sorry. They're developing this different emotional, psychological relationship and appreciation of the past. And because the Marcos era is like more than 30 years away, it's distant enough for people to project their frustrations and a transformed version of those frustrations into appreciations, almost romanticizing that past. That is what's happening right now. And nostalgia is a very, very powerful thing. Napakalakas yan. Now, obviously, when I was talking about the jowa, the ex, and all of that, I was not talking about my personal experience. Ako, personally, once it's over, move on na. Ayoko yung mga nag-ghost yung mga ex mo. Ayoko yung mga ex mo na nagpaparinig dyan sa Twitter, bigla sa nagpaparinig sa ano. Ayoko yung mga ganon. Pag tapos na, move forward na. Okay? Pero alam mo, marami nandyan na hindi ganon eh. Parang, sayang ex ko, ganda ng kotse niya. Yung mga ganon na yan na naman tayo. Kinalimutan na, babaero, loko-loko. Pero yung naalala mo yung ganda ng kotse niya. Yung mga ganon. Ayan tayo, pare. Nako po. Kaya, ingat kayo pag nagda-date kayo, huwag kayo dun sa mga naghahanap ng Okay. Ayoko na magsalita. Mahirap na. Baka matrending tayo, makancel na naman tayo dyan. Hindi ako nagpapa-withdraw, kahit kaninong candidate, okay. Okay. Do you get what I'm saying here? And I think this is where really the strength of the Marcos narrative is. This very calculated, sustained, systematic appeal to authoritarian nostalgia that has been gaining ground amidst an avalanche, or at least layers and layers of frustrations, right? With non-fulfillment of a lot of promises. Kaya nga sabi ko, for anyone else, right, whether it's Lenny, whether it's Isko, other candidates, if they want to be competitive in this race, they should not harken back to more recent past, but actually talk about a future that transcends both the fake golden age past and also the discredited more recent past. A third way, essentially. That has to be the way forward. And I think this strategy will work for Isko, this strategy will work for Lenny, etc., so on and so forth. No? Ba't yung mga usapan yan? Ayan na. Nakikita ko yung mga comment niya. Ito na, sabihin niyo mga hugot Thursday, mga ganon. Hindi po yan totoo. Hindi po ito. Ito. Kunin ko yung notebook ko. Wait lang, itabi ko itong controller ko. Wait lang, Ito yung Iron Man edition yan. Mamaya ka na. Mamaya ka na dyan. Ayan, sorry. Ito. Oh, ang ganda ng discussion natin in fairness. Isulat ko ha. Okay, sulat ko dito. Kaya malis dyan.